wellness series. So today I'm going to be having my special guest join. Her name is Lisa. She's a mother of six wellness coach. Our own journey in how we came about being a health coach and a transformational coach. And then we're also going to be sharing some actionable tips on how to change your mindset and overcome some of life's obstacles. Sometimes, we have our background and we have our experiences and we become overwhelmed and we become a victim of them and we don't know how to break through that. And so
my name is Lisa Bianco. I'm from New York, although I'm living out here in Germany for quite a long time now. I have six kids. They're all mine. And I started on my transformation journey to help me get out of a pretty bad relationship. But I have always been into wellness, fitness. This has always been since I was a teenager, since before then. So just had to like tap back into the tools that I always used to use. And then those tools just helped me to progress and move my life forward when I really needed to.
I'm 39 years old. I'm a stepmom. I have 4 stepchildren. And my whole wellness journey kind of began when my divorce happened. It kind of was like my life got transformed by that. And so I got into wellness and health after I got divorced. I got more into my self-care. And that's where, for me, my mind started changing. Yeah. Kind of a lot. I mean, you don't hear that these days. Everyone has like 1 or 2.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes it seems like a lot, but most days, no. I mean, they're just kind of like my people, my little mirrors into my soul, and you don't realize. I think once you get past like 2 or 3, and 5, 6, 10, it's all kind of the same.
Yeah, I've had this before.
So yeah, I mean, I have really good kids. I'm really, really quite lucky about that.
Yeah.
So they're kind of like I always say, like they're mirrors into your soul, right?
Right.
You can't hide anything from them.
Oh my God.
You can't hide who you are.
Yeah, that brings up a good point, because I remember when I first became a stepmom, I had a 13-year-old female, and she was, she's my stepdaughter, and I was like, I did not know how to raise her. And so I started seeing myself in some of the things that she was doing, and I'm like, oh my God, I used to do that. That's so selfish, or this or that. And I really started understanding myself a lot more when I took the time to kind of see how they were reacting or responding to certain things. And you're right, it is like a mirror to your soul.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes people think like, you have a kid, they're your kid and they're their own person, you let them do what they want. But sometimes as an adult, as a human, if you really look into some of the things that they're doing, if they're acting up, let's say, for example, or, talking back or doing something, bad habits, it's kind of a reflection of what they're seeing you do or how they're seeing you act. And so that it goes into play. Sometimes people don't see that parenting is really a reflection too. So that's something that opened my eyes when I became a step parent. I was like, wow, this is some good stuff here.
yeah, because you can't hide, right? You can't hide behind, you can't hide when you're looking straight at someone who's looking straight into your soul. You can't, there's no hiding.
Yeah.
You can't lie. You can't make promises that you won't keep. You can't make commitments that you have no intention of ever, powering through on. They've always been my accountability partners. When I gave up, I stopped drinking alcohol. I stopped consuming sugar. My son was my accountability partner for that. They show you what your addictions are. They show you where you need to like change your behaviors, change your patterns. They're really, that's what I would say with my kids. They've kind of kept me in check. And I actually have to say, sometimes I think I grew up along with them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting because they do show you that. And sometimes you can respond and react a certain way and be like, well, you're the kid, shut up. You don't know what's best. I'm the adult, don't tell me what to do. And then as an adult, you continue on these bad habits. Like you said, if you're drinking or you're, smoking or you're doing, whatever you're doing, bad habits, and they call you out on it. Sometimes you can get upset and bothered as the parent. Because like growing up, that's the way like my dad was. Like I would like tell him all the time, stop smoking. Why are you smoking? It's bad for your health. It's bad for your health. And my dad would kind of rebuttal with like, you're the kid. Don't tell me what to do. Shut up. I'm buying my own cigarettes. Like, don't tell me. And as a kid, I just saw it like, I want my dad to live. I want him to be healthy. And I think it really takes a mature parent to also be like, step back and be like, why is my kid telling me this? Maybe I should take their advice. Not giving them the full right to like be your parent, but maybe sitting back and pondering and have that self-reflection and being like, what does this really mean? Like, why am I smoking? Like, maybe my dad could step back and be like, why am I really smoking right now? Like, what could she tell me? And so I think that's great, Lisa, that you had the maturity level to be like, okay, my kids are calling me out. What does this mean? And so I think that's beautiful because it does take a lot. It takes a lot for us just to like break bad habits. I think that's like what we want to talk about today is breaking some bad habits because as adults, you know, we're not perfect. We're human of nature and we want to repeat the same old thing.
One of the things like with breaking bad habits or creating new habits, I would always say is having an accountability partner. And this was even, you know, electing my son, and then you just, you know, by showing them like, okay, I need you to hold me to this, like, you know, just having giving them that power, and then using those resources that you have right available to you, and that was for me was accountability partners, huge when you want to start new habits or break bad habits.
Accountability partner can get like a little bit of a fine line too, because sometimes you ask for that accountability partner and when they actually show up for you and they call you out on it, if you're not in the right mindset and you haven't fully developed your why for why you want to build that good habit, you can kind of snap back and be like, well, you know, leave me alone. I want to sleep and I don't want to go to the gym, or leave me alone. I want to have this last cup of coffee. Like, don't tell me how much, you know, coffee I should be drinking. And so I think it's interesting because when you do decide to opt in an accountability buddy, you gotta really be serious about it and kind of maybe spend that time to break down with them like, why do you want to make that change? How did you do it with your son? Did you like give him a breakdown of like, these are my top goals and I want you to enroll me?
I realized, okay, so I kind of like stepped back a little bit. When there was one day when I just said, okay, I wasn't a heavy drinker or anything, but I just said, okay, I'm done. I know I'm like holding this glass and I don't really even care what's in it. So like, why am I doing this? Like, I'm not connecting. I'm not present. It's just a habit. I'm just like, okay, it's dinner. I pour myself a glass of wine, but there's just no real reason why I'm doing this. So, and there's no judgment, like of people who drink or don't drink, like no judgment at all. It was just for me. And so I was just like, okay, if I'm doing this with this, I'm probably doing this with other things. So I first stopped with that. And then I realized I have other addictive behaviors, other areas of my life where I'm just processing, but I'm not really like fully present. Like I'm on autopilot. And then I realized if that's no different than being being addicted to an emotionally abusive relationship.
Right.
It's the same, right? So like, let me take accountability for myself. Like I was in this relationship to take accountability. I was there. Someone does it once, someone does it twice. And then after that, me being in it is really my own, I hate to say fault, but it's the patterns that I have of being addicted to something that isn't healthy for me, that isn't aligning with who I am, and not knowing how to break out. So when I first gave up, you know, drinking alcohol, okay, fine. And then I noticed it was actually my son's birthday. Okay, with 6 kids, it's always someone's birthday, right? And so, and I love sweets. And I noticed like when they would leave the room, I'm eating it. And I was eating like all the birthday cake. And I was finally like, Lisa, this is enough, right? I mean, it was just enough. And again, I was realizing like when I'm doing things that I'm just processing but I'm not really even like, I don't know how to say it. It's like, I'm not connecting, I'm not feeling it. I don't even taste it. It's just, I'm addicted to the sugar rush, right? And I was like, all right, I have to stop, but I need help. I can't do this one on my own. So I was like, I'm going to ask one of my kids who's here with me, who I know would be pretty strict because I know that he knows I want to do this. And every day he would come home from school and I did not want to look him in the eye and be like, oh yeah, I didn't have any. And he knows I'm lying. So it was like teaching him, like, we're not lying to each other, and teaching him that I also need help. I can't do it all on my own. Like I'm actually just a human being. And then, so it was just like, I just wanted to give up addictive behaviors that I had and just to test myself and see, can I do it? You know, am I capable? Am I strong enough? And if I am strong enough in those areas, I'm strong enough in so many other areas.
Yeah.
And this was just, it was more of also testing my mindset. But it's been a year and a half and I haven't had any.
That's amazing. Yeah, I think we have to also put ourselves through some of those hard times to reap the benefits. And it could sometimes what a lot of people end up doing is when it becomes when it blows up and it's finally in your face and you have to make the decision. It's like you said, if you're addicted to, maybe you're addicted to eating out fast foods and you have these bad habits of constantly eating, and finally you go for your annual checkup and doctor's like, hey, you have high blood pressure, you have high, cholesterol, diabetes, whatever. Then all of a sudden it's like, oops, the train is stopping. I have to do something about it. Whereas I think if we could self-reflect, and some of the good habits that we'll share today is like, if you're able to build these healthy habits on a daily basis, you're not going to have that train wreck. You're not going to have that moment where, oh my God, your whole life turns upside down and now you're a victim of a disease or of a situation.
Exactly.
And so it's interesting that I like that you said, you just wanted to challenge yourself and that you were just in the habit of consuming, not really enjoying it. And so I think that's also a mind thing, because maybe at one point when maybe your first one or two kids' birthday parties and you had really good cake, you're like, this is so good, so delicious. I don't have it that often. But then having 6 kids and having birthdays pretty regular,
Yeah, and
you're like,
you have it in the house every day. And it's
yeah,
it's like now I always talk about this, the self-evidence, right? So now I know I have self-evidence that if I need to do something, change something, I have the self-evidence that I can. So part of like
empowering.
changing your habits is also building up self-evidence that you have, that you can tap back into, that you're like, well, okay, well, this was a little bit difficult, but I was able to do it. And how do I know? Because I did.
Yeah.
So you
Awesome.
have that your own self-evidence that you can tap into for anything anything, because you have that proof that you've done something challenging before and you succeeded. There's nothing better than having your own self-evidence.
Yeah. I think like just that kind of brings up, my past experience with being in an abusive relationship. So I know we want to talk about that briefly too, just because sometimes people think like, wow, you're just where you're at because you're where you're at. And usually the most successful people are the ones that went through the hardest life. And like you said, it goes to that self-evidence. So like for me, I was about 20 when I got married. And I thought this was just like the best relationship ever. I got married. I was like, yes, we moved in together. And as soon as we got married and moved in together, I discovered his addiction to drugs and his bad habits. He was also bipolar. And so he had a lot of things going on that I wasn't aware of. And for me, it was just a whole different environment. And I was like, I was very religious. We were going to church too. And I felt kind of hopeless because I didn't know how to support him and his needs. I wasn't aware of the conditions that he had. And it started, he started getting angry with me and abusive. And it just started like, just ripple effect every day. It was just like, he would just blow up randomly. And I was afraid to what I was going to say, how I was going to look, what I was going to wear. It was controlling. I lost all my friends and my family. And I was in a very, very dark place. Yeah, it was like, I had felt like I made this decision. This is all my fault. I got married to him. I shouldn't listen to, X, Y, and Z who told me not to marry him. And I was at the point where I was at the bathroom contemplating suicide. And I think that was a low point where I had this whisper of like, no, Wendy, you're worth so much more. Like you can overcome this. Like, who cares what people say? And I think that's where some people get stuck in the abusive relationships, because they don't feel that there's that hope out there. And sometimes the abuser will make you isolated so that you're so isolated that you feel so alone. And you can relate to that, right? And so I remember having that whisper and waking up, and I tried 2 times to escape this. I say escape because I literally packed my stuff and tried to escape, and he prevented me. And I went to the traumatic event, and I think that it really made me a stronger person, but also I was very angry. I was angry with my religion, with the church that I was with, because they weren't supportive. I had a lot of hurt. I just thought every man was like that. It was just like, I don't trust anybody anymore. And so I had this big chip on my shoulder, and I had so much anger for so many years. And I was in debt. And I remember living like that for probably about, I would say like 6 to 8 months. I was just so mad, right, at the world. And then I just started practicing. I got more into my Bible, and I was like, you know what? forgiveness is where we need to start. And so my very first blog post I wrote was about forgiveness, because as I walked through forgiveness, things started to unleash. Things started to, like, relax a little bit. I became more happier and positive, and I was just, looking at the bright side of things instead of the glass half empty. It was, half full now. And I started getting my hope back. And I think that that was one of the things that I started, was forgiveness, and forgiving him and forgiving what he did, forgiving my church, forgiving a lot of people. But through my journey, I was still doing some destructive behaviors. I was on dates, and I was being, now I was being mean, and I was being the one that was taking advantage of people, and I was being this like vicious person, and I was being angry, and I was still carrying that with me. And so I had to do a lot of practicing. And so I want to know, like, what did you try? Because, like, you kind of came from a similar, so I mean, you could share your story too. And like, what was one big key thing that kind of started moving the emotional for you, like moving it into wellness or into like better habits?
So yeah, I can relate so much to your story. And the one thing that I just wanted to like to point out is when people say, well, you had a choice. When you're in something like that, like I like to say, like, you could have a room filled with balloons, and every single balloon could be a choice of how to leave, but you wouldn't notice any of those balloons when you're in it. It's not just, well, but you could have just left. Yeah, okay, I didn't know. I'm sure I had choices. I didn't know I had them at the time. Like, I couldn't see a choice. So when people say, well, you always have a choice, yes, you always have a choice, but can you see those choices? And sometimes for a matter of survival, you won't see those choices because you're just trying to survive the day.
Yeah.
So I understand a lot what you're saying, and you do want to just get that pain away. You just want that pain gone. So I really do understand. I had she passed away, but a really good friend of mine who was very clever. I would say she's very clever. And she was my first accountability partner without me ever realizing it at the time. But she said to me, Lisa, you know what? Let's do this 21-day Oprah Deepak Chopra meditation program. It's online. So she was in California and I was out here, and we're going to do it. And okay, fine. I will do it for her. She had cancer at the time, so I will do it. And every day she would, write me a message. Did you do it? Yes, I did. And she would even ask me the questions of like, what was in, like, to make sure that I had really listened, to what it was. Oh yeah. And sometimes they always started off with this 21-day meditation. He would always start off with, like, Oprah would give a little bit of a story, and then he would lead you through a meditation and had a mantra. And later I did get certified as a meditation instructor with Deepak Chopra. So this was this resonated with me. And at first I couldn't meditate. I had all these thoughts and everything going through, and just sitting still just scared me. And closing my eyes, never, ever would I have done that. So I would just listen. I would be doing something else and I would listen to her. And then slowly through time, through the 21 days, eventually at the end, I was able to actually sit down and close my eyes for the entire 21 minutes that he was talking. So it was 21 days, 21 minutes. And during this time, I don't know, I think I was able to like tap into myself, and I was able to eventually listen to some of the messages that they were talking about. A lot of it was about self-forgiveness, how everything really does start with you forgiving yourself, like not carrying that burden. And I learned to sit and to be quiet and to not be afraid of my thoughts and not be afraid of what was going on in my mind, what was going on in my body. I learned to not be so scared. And I had to sneak this, this wasn't something I could do openly in the house. This wasn't like an option, so I would sneak this in eventually, all over. And then I started moving my body. I was really big into exercise. Like, I had always been into exercise, but while I was with him, this was a no-go. If you were natural, you didn't need to exercise. So I had stopped. So I started, also when I would listen to these meditations, I would move my body. I would do some yoga. So it was needing to listen to the meditation and starting to move my body. I started to connect to myself. And that's from there, that then just kind of sparked that there was something else, that there was hope out there, that there was a chance, that there was an opportunity, that I was worthy. And it was like the
Mhm.
start of peeling all the layers from me. And so the forgiveness, I think it just basically really started with myself, like forgiving myself for being in there, forgiving myself for having my children be part of this, forgiving myself for having um, my environment for being like this, and forgiving myself for being angry, forgiving myself for acting out because I was looking for like someone, please come and save me. I don't think so much I had to forgive him in the sense that I do believe that sometimes people, it's kind of like out there, but sometimes people sacrifice their souls in this lifetime to make chaos in our lives to reawaken us. So I
Mhm.
think for someone to be so abusive, they must have so much hurt inside of them
Right.
that I can't be angry with him. It I just don't have, I don't know. If I was angry, then I also think that that would mean I would still be trying to seek to be in it. So
Yeah.
um, it past that forgiveness, there's probably a next stage of that where you just say, wow, okay, you actually caused so much chaos in our lives. That must be so hurtful for that other person to be that way.
Oh gosh, I love that. Lisa, that brings such a good point because what one of my good friends, Bernie Stolt, he always says, hurt people hurt people. And so
Yeah.
when somebody acts out at you and they're vengeful or they're angry, it's almost like, and they say, well, you made me mad, you got me upset. And it's like, I didn't do anything. Like you did it to yourself. And I like how you said that it really came from you forgiving yourself just for, all of these different elements and environments. But when you really truly take a step back and when somebody's yelling in your face or someone's angry at you, it is truly a reflection of what's burning inside of their soul and in their hearts and what's going on with them. And when you start peeling back those layer onions, and you start seeing that it's really some, trauma that they may had with their past relationship, or they may have with their parents, or with a certain child right now that they're going through a hurt time. And this goes for overall, I think, honestly, in anything. Like when you go to a grocery store and someone's like snapping
Mm-hmm.
at you mad, it's usually not because they hate you, they have nothing to do with you, they're strangers, but it could be maybe they got in a fight, or maybe they don't have money for rent or food and they're stressed out. And so I always look at it, if somebody's bothered at the grocery store, I'm like, how can I make their day better? How can I brighten their day? What can I do to
Mm-hmm.
make them kind of interrupt their patterns right now, because they're stuck in their head. And
Exactly.
it has to do a lot with your mind too, because when I was going through my abusive relationship, I would still continue to go to work. I was quiet, I was closed down, and I would just be in my zone of just working. And people like, hey, how are you? Let's go to lunch. I'm like, I can't. It was like very closed off. But I was going through so much at home, and so it's like you have to have that compassion for people too, because you don't know what they're going through. You don't know their life. You don't know anything. So don't judge them, and don't have just be more compassionate towards them. So I think just being a good human overall, that's kind of like showing more of that love, and spreading that joy and abundance. And that's what I love about your page, is that you're always about spreading that positivity. And it's not, I wouldn't say it's not realistic and it's foo-foo, because some people are like, oh, like you don't live in a real world, you're just living in an Instagram world. But it's like, no, if you truly work on yourself and you live that every day,
Yeah.
you start reflecting and shining out to the world, to the universe, and then like that's kind of what you're giving. That's what you're about. That's you. It's true. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, I think I love that, like what you said about having those choices again, because when you're in a abusive relationship, you can have all these doors that are leading you to different choices. But when you're just in that moment of survival mode, your mind, your body, you just live for that day, for
You
that
can.
moment, and you don't know that. Yeah.
No, you can. And that's where I think when, we talk about like daily habits, daily practices, I don't think I would ever fall back into something like that again, because I have my daily habits now that I know now are not negotiable. So if we talk about like self-evidence goes like two ways. One, I know that I'm totally capable of doing things because I have tested myself. So it's like every single time you go on, I don't know, a yoga mat, or you push yourself a little bit, you build evidence that you are capable when things get a little bit tough. But
Mm-hmm.
you also have self evidence of, ooh, that did not go well at all, right? I was in
Yeah.
something and I don't want to be in there. So it goes both ways, right?
Mm.
And I think I have enough self-evidence, and I think I have enough by building my daily habits and maybe even my daily routine, kind of however you want to put it. I know that some of those things are not negotiable. I know when I don't move my body, I'm not as happy of a person. I
Yeah.
know when I don't have time for myself, I have to make that time up at some point in time during the day. And I know if, you know what I mean? I know this now because I've sat back, I've reflected, I've given myself time to develop these habits, to learn from others, to have, I think what's so important is like a tribe of this like-minded, like people like you, all the people in your community. It's like when you have that group of people who know you as the person you are now, and they almost know you as your future self, and they
Yeah.
don't identify you as the victim.
Yeah.
When you have those people, you have, you can't fall, you won't fall back. Like you just can't. And even if you
Yeah.
do, you may touch back, but you'll like leap forward. If that
Yeah. And
makes any sense.
it's
And
amazing.
that's,
It's amazing that you end up building a community with people that don't, they're from all around the world, but they
mhm,
allow you to be your best self. They allow you. And I think sometimes when you have your close friends, like your best friend, your girlfriend, they keep wanting to throw your past at you or throw how you used to be or throw or not let you grow. And I think that's sad. It's really sad. And sometimes people feel, stuck in friendship relationships or in, other relationships. So if you can build another community that, like you said, that supports you in your moment of you right now and allows you to be the best you in your future, you're just going to skyrocket. When you surround yourself with like-minded people, you're bound to level up, and that's kind of where you
mhm,
have to give yourself that freedom. And some people are like, well, I'm not worthy of it, I'm not at that level, I don't wear that, I don't own this, I don't do that. And it's like, it's okay if you allow yourself to be mentored or coached or surround yourself, you eventually will level up and start learning and building. So one thing that I think people struggle with that I want you kind of touch on
mhm.
is how do you even build, like, how do you even go from habits? Like a habit, I mean, we're talking about let's build a good habit, okay?
Mhm.
How would one build a good habit, and what time of day should they start? Or like what, like, you know what I mean? Like what's a 101 habit tip that we can give somebody?
So okay, so one-on-one habit. I mean, before, Atomic Habits was written,
Yeah.
as a mom, you do habit stack, right? Because you have to get some things done. So I am a huge fan of when you brush your teeth. Minimum, you're brushing your teeth morning and night. So much you can do while you're brushing your teeth. So whether it's what your goals are, if you want to do just a little bit of movement and you haven't moved your body in forever, just do some light squats while you're brushing your teeth, right? It's 2 minutes a day, right? Or say some affirmations to yourself. If you're someone who's like talks pretty negatively about yourself, put some post-it notes of some like really, really like caring affirmations.
Yeah.
Post them up, read them while you're brushing your teeth.
Mm.
Um, I'm also, anything you can, if you want to start meditating, but you don't know where to begin while you're brushing your teeth, notice, okay, what's in front of you, what's behind you, what's to the sides of you. Do this while you're brushing your teeth. There's so much that you can just do while you're brushing your teeth. And the great thing is they're bookends, right? The big morning, the nighttime, so you can attach things, something, and once you start doing that, everything just starts, because then you want more and more. The greatest thing about building a habit is when you can keep it to a short amount of time in the beginning. Because if you say, well, every day I'm going to exercise for an hour, every day I'm going to meditate for 15 minutes, every day you're not. You'll do it for a little while, the time will run away, then you miss a couple of days, you miss this and this, it doesn't work, right? Then you start feeling like you're failing it, right? But that's why I like when you're brushing your teeth, because it's just this finite period of time. It's morning and night. You attach something to it, and you start getting these wins and these self wins, and as you start building this self evidence. And then once you build one habit, then you go to the second habit, then you just start gravitating towards other habits. So in the evening, I would often go through, what am I grateful for? What was I grateful for today while I'm brushing my teeth? like just try to find a couple of habits that you would like to incorporate and attach them to brushing your teeth in the morning and the night.
I love
That's
that.
always my recommendation.
I love that. I love that. I do the squats and I also do some butt kicks, and then I listen to the water and like kind of just try to relax. So, you know, you're supposed to brush your teeth for 2 minutes, so at least do that, right? And then what I always tell my clients when I'm coaching is like, if they want to build habits, is that take an inventory of what you're currently doing now. So through the week, document everything that you're doing, you know, from like how much time are you scrolling, or, you know, are you outside? What are you doing? Just document your day and seeing how your day is broken up into, you know, what are you doing? Like what, like for a mom, obviously you have certain things, you know, packing the kids' lunch, driving them to school, getting ready for work or staying home, whatever it may be. So every day may look different. And so what I like to say is like, track your day, document it. And then the following week, review it, spend some time reviewing it and saying, okay, well, how can I put these like tasks together? Like say, for example, I'm checking the kids' homework, but I'm also having to check work emails. How can I do that at the same time instead of doing one in the morning and one in the evening, or, you know, splitting it up? Trying to find like tasks or habits or actions that you're doing and chunking them together and saying, okay, when am I most present? When do I need to, if my kids are doing homework, like I need to be more aware and sharper to help them. Am I better, you know, earlier in the afternoon or later in the evening? So kind of trying to figure out where you can put things together. And then maybe there's only certain days that you want to do certain things. So like for working out or for yoga classes, like maybe you only want to do it 2 days a week. And so is it better on a Saturday morning and maybe like, I don't know, a Friday morning? So I like to look at your week and then make like a master day and a master week. And then so every certain day I have different routines, but then the main thing is that my morning ritual and my evening always stay the same. And like you said, if I miss something, I know I'm off, and I'm like, okay, like Wendy needs to go, like read her journal, write her a journal, or read the Bible, whatever. Like I know it because I had stacked all those habits. I have like about 5 to 7 that I really like. 5 is like the most that I need to do. The 7 is like, I'm going to have a great day, but if I have the time. And so even my husband knows like, okay, like if we're on vacation, I still need to do that because I know I'm my best self, and then I can actually serve and give to others. Whereas if I'm just like gonna get up and go with the flow, I just feel thrown off. I feel thrown off.
Yeah,
and so
I'm the same. My routine is off, and
the whole day. Brushing your teeth is a really good way to start. I think that's a great tip, that because anyone could take it. You know, you're gonna do it this morning, you're gonna do it last night. Like you're gonna be able to do it. And Joe, if you just try being aware, like you said, of your surroundings, of the noises, of just kind of what words are you telling yourself? Because that's where it comes from. If you're saying, oh, I'm running late, I'm always in a hurry, oh my God, I have so many things to do, and you create this like adrenaline, like high energy, low vibing feeling of being in a rush, then all day long you're gonna feel like that. Like there's never enough time. But then if you go and you look at the phone, I'm pretty sure you were on TikTok or Instagram for a couple hours. So, you know, like your day could have been spent differently if you would have made better conscious decisions. So
you know, and just like tapping into that awareness, like what you said, you know, just to, and one thing that you brought up when you talked about when you have people first look at their week, people are, I often say, you'd be surprised at how many things you're already doing. You just don't know that you're doing them. So I had someone who was like, oh, I hate exercise, though. I'm like, but you walk your dog every day. Like you are moving. So let's start with what you are already doing. Like give yourself credit, you know, because people I don't think realize how many good habits that they're already doing, but they just think they're not enough. Well, it's like, well, let's start with what you are doing. Like, let's start with your strengths. Like, let's start and then build up from there. Because once people realize, well, okay, but wait, it's true. I do walk my day. Like we go hiking, my dog and I, every day. Okay, that is movement. Like, let's give yourself credit where it's due and then build up from, like, see what changes that you want to make. But
and I think by having a transformational coach or a health coach, they're able to identify those things and those strengths. And so like sometimes people are saying, well, I don't exercise, and they're thinking that's me running on the treadmill for an hour. And it's like, no, if you're washing your car, mowing the lawn, or you're, you know, cleaning the house, like that's movement. I always say, like, let's just move your body, whether it's dancing, cleaning, cooking. That's how I believe it. Maybe that's what I think you too. Like, it's like movement is different than exercise. Like,
once you know, oh wait, I do move my body.
Yeah.
I'm a mover. I move my body. Then you start, before you're like, oh, I'm a person, I don't like exercise, I don't like exercise. And then it's all of a sudden this mindset change to, oh wait a minute, I am someone who exercises. I am someone who moves my body.
Mm,
It's just this slight change of just being aware. And then it's like, oh wait, I am that person. I am
yeah.
the person that does that. And then it's like everything just goes from there.
Yeah, it starts trickling and just
Mm-hmm.
it's like that little rewardment in your mind goes like, yeah, I am that person. And so they
Mm-hmm.
always say like, oh, show up as your best self. You are that, which is I think that can be great. And when you start building those little habits, you become like, I am a healthy person. I am this. And so that's also an affirmation, right? You are like whatever your future self you want to be. You got to start telling yourself that, and those little
Mm-hmm.
habits start coming, and then you build that momentum, and things just start clicking from there, and you
Yeah.
become your best self every day,
Yeah.
1% better, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. I mean, it's it's actually pretty easy. Like we're built for that success. I know it sounds a bit strange, but we are. And I think people don't realize how successful and how much they really are doing. They just don't know it because they don't think that what they're doing looks like what someone else is doing.
Mm.
But,
Ooh, that's
but
a good one because that always brings up the comparison, like, well, I don't do what she's doing, so I must not be XYZ. And it's like
mhm,
everybody's at their own level, their own
yeah.
chapter. Don't, like they say, don't compare yourself to the chapter 10 when you're on chapter 1. Like, don't do it. Everyone's at different levels. And I love having these kind of conversations because it really shows who people are, and not just the Instagram of just like where they're at and where they want to be. Because I feel like for my page, I'm sharing more of where I'm at currently and where I'm going to be, like where my future is going to be. It's more of that, where there's all this other life experience that I don't share, that I don't feel like I have to, but I think it's good for some people because who are where we used to be, and I think that's where like we're able to serve them.
It's so interesting because I have tried so hard not to share this other part of my life, not because I was shamed, not because um, I didn't want to or I didn't know if none of like, not for any reason except for I was just like, well, it's probably just not so important.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's over for me, it's in the
Mm-hmm.
past.
Yeah.
But it can really help other people, it can really benefit other people
Mm-hmm.
if they knew where we were and what we did to get out of that.
Yeah.
But I've tried so hard to be like, okay, that was in the past. I
Yeah.
don't want to go down there, or that's so negative. I don't want to be tapping into negativity, and forgetting that it's actually really positive. Kind of
It
weird
is. And
way, but it
and
is.
I think I too I'm magnetized for people who do share their experiences like this. I'm like, wow, they're human, they're just like me. And I'm at the same thing. Like I'm like, I don't want to share. It's like it's old news to me. Like I'm over
Yeah.
that, done with, bye. But I do share on personal levels, and I share it because I know that sometimes they need that inspiration or that hope, because you can be a victim, or like if you have a limiting belief that maybe your life is just not meant to be what it's supposed to be, and you're like stuck there and you're trapped. And so having a transformational coach or having like a life coach can really help you unravel those past traumas, because we all carry past traumas, all of us. Like we
Mhm.
were born on this earth, and like everybody is going through something, like we said. And when you're able to look at it and be like, okay, I'm not a victim anymore, but I really want to help myself and help my family. How do I move past it? And sometimes if you don't have the tools or the resources, I mean, yes, we have Google and we have tons of resources, but if you don't really know where to go, who to be your mentor, and who to help you go through this, and it can be a struggle for many years. And some people, like I see, that are still struggling with things in them. And it's like you can't do the work for them. You have to do the work yourself. But
Yeah.
there are people out there that have been through what you've been through, and that can help guide you and share some resources. So yeah.
Can I just say one last part about being in anything that's traumatic? Is way that I look at it is it's not who I am. So I am not this trauma victim. I'm not. It's similar to like if you have the flu. You're not a sick person. You just had the flu.
Mm,
So you were a healthy person before, then you had the flu, now you're healthy again.
mm,
It's just like I was a person before, then I had this like bad experience, and I'm still a person. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm not, my traumatic events, they don't define me.
Mm.
Just like if I have the flu, I'm not a sick person. I just had the flu for 7 days. Like, oh well, who cares, right? And then you move, it's like not defining yourself by that experience, because you were someone before and you will be someone after, and you will, and if a traumatic experience does come your way again, you know you will be someone after that again. You know what I
Mm.
mean?
I love
It's
that.
just a bad phase.
Yeah, I think that's so great. Because your past doesn't define you, and that's kind of where I'm always, that's my motto too. Like, your past doesn't define you. You can move forward, and like you said, if you're able to build momentum and build healthy habits and see the benefits of you doing positive things. But sometimes you can do, jump into positive habits and relationships, and it still doesn't work for you. And then you're like, but why? But why is it still not happening for me? And you get in that struggle. But it's like, you're almost there. Just don't give up. Keep going, keep going, keep going. And that's when you need that community to kind of like cheer you on and support you, because it is like, people do want to give up if you don't see the rewards right away of building healthy habits or a lifestyle change. It's like, well, forget it. Who cares? I'm just gonna throw in the towel and move back to my old ways. But I also like that you said, if, oh God, I lost my train of thought. It was, if you're not defining yourself. So sometimes the reason why you define yourself is because people that were really close to you, that you love and they love you supposedly, they tell you these things about you. Like, they may tell you that you're this kind of person or that kind of person, and it kind of sticks with you. I've had a couple situations where somebody really close to me said something to me, and every time it came up, I kept repeating in my head. I'm like, well, she said this, so I must be this, I must be this. And it was almost like I was brainwashing myself and believing that. And I had to just really come back, and then to the same thing, like, hurt people hurt people. She must have said it because there was something about the situation that she was hurting about, that she threw it upon me. And so when I took that and I really broke it down, I had to like write it out and journal about it. I went through like a whole like a course about, just breaking through these limiting beliefs that I had around relationships or money and friendships. And you have to do the work and break it down. But when you start seeing it for what it is, you don't let it define you, and you can move
No,
past
no.
it.
And
Yeah.
even if you have like a wonderful habit, right? Every day you move your body for 20 minutes a day, and one day you don't. That doesn't mean that you've fallen off. It just means that day you didn't. You
Yeah.
were moving before, you'll move again tomorrow. It
Make
doesn't
a better
matter.
decision tomorrow. Yeah.
Yeah. It doesn't define you. That one bad, you know it, you acknowledge it, and now we go forward. You
Yeah.
know,
Give yourself grace too. Give yourself grace that
yeah,
it's
that's what
okay if you're,
self-forgiveness,
yeah. Awesome.
self-compassion, self-forgiveness, and that's where that all kind of kicks in.
I love that. Such
Yeah.
great gems today. I love it. Is there anything
Yeah.
else that you want to share before we wrap it up? I can't see the comments. I don't know what happened. Do you see the comments or anything?
I just see like who has joined. That's
I don't
all.
see,
Like
okay, I don't see any of
okay.
that. It's all like just a black screen. So I'm like, I don't know what
Oh,
happened.
okay. It's okay.
Go.
Um, so anything, I would just say, you have to start somewhere. You just start.
Mm.
Understand your why, and your why will change, and it's okay if your why changes. So just kind of know what it is to want to do, but really know the why. And the why is, a lot of times, it could be anything. It could be, I want to give my kids a better life. It could be, I want to be able to, run a marathon. Like, it could be anything. It doesn't have to be something big. It could be something small. It doesn't even have to be related to you. It could be a feeling. It could be whatever. Who cares? It doesn't matter. It's whatever your why is, and your why may change. And then from there, like for me, I started with this meditation. My friend was really smart, because had she not, I would have never gotten out of that relationship. I really believe this. But what she did was she kind of snuck in this 21-day, do it for me. I have cancer. It's really good. And so I was like, okay, I should do this for her. I will do this 21 meditation, because it's our way of connecting. And she really needs me to do this. Meanwhile, she was doing it for me. But that was my why. It was, I didn't want to let her down, because she wasn't feeling well. She was sick. And so I wanted to do something for her. Doing something for her changed my life. So whatever your why is, doesn't have to be somebody else's why. And start off small. Like, really start off small. Don't go in there with this big thing, grand thing. I'm going to, like I said,
Save my
I'm
whole
going
life.
to, you know, yeah, because you know what? You're setting yourself up for failure and it's not
Yeah.
worth. And when you start up small, you'll have these little wins, and then eventually, pretty fast, you'll have big wins.
Oh, I love that. So good. So
Yeah,
good. Yeah, I
yeah,
think I would love for you to share how people can connect with you, what your Instagram handle is. Everything I think is kind of linked somewhere around here. I'll probably keep some on my page so you guys can watch the replay and you guys can
yeah,
share. But feel free
yeah.
to,
And I'm like one of those people, like I always answer all my DMs and everything. So if anyone ever has like a question or whatever, it doesn't matter. I'm always happy to like to talk to
you are.
anyone. I'm always happy, yeah, you know, to talk and to cheer people on. Like I get it. And so you can always just like hop into the DMs. You can always just send me a message, and I'm always happy to connect with anyone. And then, you know, I can see where you're at and see what you need, or just to cheer you on, or to be your accountability partner. Like if you need
Yeah.
one, you don't have anyone at home, or you feel kind of like funny, I don't want to ask someone, like I am totally happy. I will send you a message every day. How's it going? And, you know, I'm happy to do that. Yeah.
Awesome. Now, do you have any other
Yeah.
social media accounts, or are you mainly on Instagram?
Mainly on Instagram. I mean, I know I should be on other things, but I'm not. I mean, I'm
You don't
also on
have
Facebook.
to. You don't have
I
to.
know. I'm like,
You're like,
I
oh,
have to.
feeling the
I
guilt
know.
trip.
I'm
I
also on,
have to.
yeah, I'm also on Facebook as well.
Okay.
But then also mainly on here. I feel like all the time, but I'm
Yeah,
on here.
I love it. I love it. I mean, I've been trying so many other social medias too, and I'm like, I always just come back to Instagram. I don't know why. It's just like
I
love it.
just love the connections that we all have with each other, you know, even though it's like near or far. Like I really genuinely feel like I have such great friends on here. I mean, I know people are like, oh, social media, but I don't find that. I really find that I have not seen anything negative. I've only seen the positives that at least have come from like the community that we've set up. You
Yeah.
know?
And I love it. I'm like, oh, what's Lisa up to? I love connecting with you and seeing what you're doing, what you're
Yeah.
eating, what you're drinking, how you're moving. I'm like, okay, where's she at today? So I had the same experience, so I love it too with Instagram.
Yeah. So it's kind of fun. So, and like I said, we're always here, like Wednesday night, like cheer everyone on, or you know, do whatever. And anything that someone's going through, the odds are pretty good, at least for me. I've been through, you know, or I can relate to in some sort of way. Like, you know, we're all
So let us
unique, but
know.
we're not that unique.
Yeah, maybe we look like we're unique, but we're not.
Yeah.
We've been through it too. So yeah, definitely. So thank you guys so much. I don't know if you guys have any questions below. Drop them, we'll answer them. We'll keep it on the replay. We can answer them in the comments, but feel free to share it with a friend, maybe who is struggling or needs to build healthy habits, or just, you know, comment below what your biggest takeaways were from this little chat. Hopefully we can do another one like this and connect. Yeah. All right, Lisa, well, it was great. Okay. I hope you have a great Friday. Thank you.
Yes, you too. Bye.
Bye.